God, I can't believe this. God, this is horrible. God. God, I can't believe this is what they think of me anymore. God, how I've fallen.
No, I hate this! Why? Why not?
I hate it when he does this to himself. I hate it. Hey, Dr. Jones, are you doing good in here?
I wasn't drinking and watching Dial of Destiny and getting mad about it. That's a fact there, buddy.
Dr. Jones, you can't be doing this to yourself anymore. You gotta modernize, man. Like, I'll teach you the ways if you want me to.
You're right. My God, you're right. And I'm ready to learn.
The first step in modernizing, the internet.
What's up, players? It's your boy, Indie Gamer THX1138, and this is my first stream ever, and we're gonna play some Minecraft on my game station. Let's begin.
Oh wow, well, would you look at that? We're here in a craft. Wow, and oh look, there's some lava. That's pretty nice. I'm stuck in the lava. I'm stuck.
All right, no, I'm done with this. I have lived a full and adventurous life. I hate this, and I hate you, Johnny Fapples. Oh my God.
Well, Dr. Jones, you know, the internet might not be for you, video games and all that, but you know what the kids do love nowadays? Extreme skateboarding. Well, you know, Dr. Jones, the skateboarding was all right, but that was more of like the 80s. This is more the modern day, you know. Modern day, they do things like Fortnite dancing.
So it's like this.
No, your arms are too stiff. You need to loosen up. Just go like that.
Like
No.
this.
Okay. I mean, it's a start. You need more practice. You gotta loosen up.
Indiana. Indy, can you hear me? Indy, this is your papa here. I'm dead, of course, but this is me now in heaven. Listen, son, you don't have to go around being what you're not. You're a grown man. You can do whatever you please in this life. That being said, you know, if you want to fit in with the cool kids at school, perhaps consider freshening up your style a little bit. That might not hurt. Other than that, I love you, son. Have a good day.
Don't you just hate living in the future with all of this postmodernist stress? It's a first world problem, I know.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome back to Eager Beaver HQ. Here we're broadcasting from our protective bunker-changing room right now. We have a really fun and interesting subject to discuss today, and it'll wrap up our Indiana Jones work. Real quick, we'd like to thank our inspirer right here. Remember, please, if you see this message, reach out to us. We have a present for you that we'd love to send in the mail sometime very soon. This particular character has inspired us to take the old style of 1930s Indiana Jones-Explorer gear and transform it into something modern. Now, the difficulty in that is losing some of the charm of what was the ye olden day. So we're going to try and be polite with that, and we're going to break down what we think, in simplest forms, entails the Indiana Jones costume and how best to translate that into the modern day and age. So, We'll do a full gear breakdown, and then best of all, boys and girls, we'll take it out in the field and we'll give you our honest feedback on how it works and functions. So, let's get started. All right, boys and girls. Here comes one of the most fun and yet most dangerous bits about modernizing Indiana Jones. The Herbert Johnson Fedora. Now, when you last saw us, we rather ran this one through the coals. We gave it a 5 out of 10 for use in the field. However, when it comes down to it, it's a beautifully fashionable hat. It's made out of wonderful materials, but it has a steep entry price at $500. And frankly, it'll get absolutely ruined in the great outdoors. This is a very iconic hat, mind you. We love it on the character. But we have the assignment of finding a replacement that is both old-fashioned and cool, but at the same time tough and outdoors and somewhat modernized. Now, I'm gonna start off with my personal favorite. Everyone generally sees me here in my slouch hat pretty much daily on a film shoot, unless we're doing something more historic for character. When you've seen us out in the wilderness, this is the hat that I go to. And I go to it for personal, family, cultural reasons, as well as the fact that it is old-fashioned, but it's a touch updated. Further, I've got the whole family set up here, so you know it's really in the blood at this point. Something that I love about a good and proper slouch hat, especially when it says made in Australia, is the fact that it's a hat that's over 100 years old. These have been in use properly in Australia and what used to be the Commonwealth since the Second Boer War of 1899. And they're absolutely made for outdoorsing and, frankly, warfare. It has a very large brim. Further, it actually breathes fairly well because of these ventilation holes at the top. What I also love about these is the fact that you can flip a bill and they're highly customizable. As you can see here, this classic from the early 50s has been shaped into the style of a fedora. This one over here got very little care except for a punch straight through the top. And mine here personally from the family is been done in the classical style just to keep some of that heritage and because I enjoy it. There are a few downsides to these hats, mostly being the fact that it's a heavy material. It's going to hold a lot of water in and it can be warmer, but again, the vent holes really help with that. Further, because it's so thick at times, it does help repel water. But I'd also say that when it comes in the realm of hats, these roughly cost, I'd say, $80 to $120 United States, depending. Some days it's a bit different, but that's the general run of the land there. For our film shoot, I'll set this one up to a different optimization, but this is the #1 hat that I personally pick to replace Indiana Jones's in the modern day and age. However, I also like to give all of our viewers a few options, just because maybe this is out of your price range and maybe it's just not your style. So, let me show you what else you can use in the field. Here are a few hat choices and alternatives that I have used in the woods, as well as many of my friends have, both in the military, within the outdoors, and in general recreation. I like to give these options to you just because it helps bring some of the classical world out, but at the same time, they're very usable. So, let me begin. Right here is the classic boonie cap. This is a fantastic fit, and frankly, one that my family's used before and many others have. It takes the best of these, but it's going to shorten up the bill, and frankly, they're tough. You can just roll these up, pack them away, and they're good to go. They dry very quickly, they have excellent vent holes. The band on here holds extra equipment if you need it, which is fantastic. You can run pins in if you want to hold up a side or both sides. You can actually also just cut off the bill, which was a style I've seen before in the SAS, and wear it just as a basic nightie cap almost, but with a utility belt on your head. And of course, you can run the band up here, tighten it, and pull the bills in. These hats are really a classic and they're incredibly reliable. They're tough. They're only roughly $20 American, which makes it incredibly affordable. They have so many different patterns, and they're gonna hold up for a long time. This is a true classic coming from the late 50s through the Vietnam War, and you still see this used today. Fantastic piece here. This is an Australia leather hat. Very cowboy-esque. I like these though because they're fully water repellent. They have an enlarged hole here for venting, and leather holds up beautifully. Further, it's incredibly malleable. You can beat this one up, use it as much as you like, and the brim here has a metal wire through it, so you can shape it any which way you want. You can do it down, you can bend it up, and they largely hold their form, which is fantastic. The only downside with these is they can get a bit heated just because, again, it's leather, but what you lose out in some of that ventilation, you gain in both toughness, water repellent, and again, beautiful style. These are incredibly affordable. Again, this is Outback leather, and I really, really could not speak more highly of this brand. And best thing is brand new. Most of these are $50 to $60 American. All right, now as you remember, Indiana Jones is an Alden boot man. These aren't Aldens, these are Goyles, but they're pretty darn close when it comes to being an Indiana Jones boot, and they fit the bill almost perfectly. There's very little that's different in the two make. That being said, as you remember in our film, these shoes lost a heel on me.
Oh, Dr. Jones. Drop the heel.
And were very uncomfortable. During our last film shoot, they got a 3 out of 10. Great production boot, terrible for hiking. So, what would I suggest to you now for a modern hiking boot? Well, I like to be fair and give you 2 very good options. The first one is going to be our overall winner for the day and what I will be wearing for our hike. These here are the modern Solomon Jungle Boot. These are absolutely fantastic. They're relatively budget friendly, though they cost more at about $120 when I got them, but they have a Gore-Tex lining, they're water repellent, they're water resistant, and best of all, waterproof. They're quick drying on the outside. They have a beautiful foot and heel that absolutely eat hard and soft surfaces and help you stay balanced. Getting your feet in and out is very easy. They breathe really nicely. Surprisingly, the Gore-Tex does not keep you absolutely miserable. I love these boots. I think they're fantastic. Again, these are the ones that we're going to take out into the field. I have taken these in below zero conditions before. Further, I've taken these where it's over 100 degrees. I've taken them through swamps and marshes and through the dry desert themselves. These are tough, tough boots. Fantastic. Highly recommend them. Look forward to taking them on our hike. However, that might be a little out of some people's price range. So, I have an alternative. A more budget-friendly option are the original Jungle Boots. These are reproductions by the Rothko company, but a $50 pair of boots is a fantastic deal. Further, these are from the Vietnam War by their styling. These are the roughly 1966, 1967 Jungle Boots right here. And what I love about these is that they breathe. They breathe really nicely. They have this khaki material cloth right here, so it dries out really quickly, has ventilation holes at the bottom, so it's gonna keep you nice and dry. When you're in the jungle, as many of you know, it's very hard to stay dry, but this quick drying access and this ability to let air flow is really lovely. Further, the tread on these is ridiculous. You do not trip and fall in these. These are wonderful. I had my old pair for many years. I just replaced them. This is a brand spanking new pair. I look forward to breaking them in soon. But what I can tell you again is that as a budget-friendly hiking boot, these are phenomenal. All right, so for modern Indiana Jones, we've got the boots, we've got the hat. What are we gonna do about drinking water now, As you remember before, we used the World War II style of metal canteen, which actually I really like. And that's why I really haven't changed much with the current setup. This here is a very reliable system. This is the 56 or 1956 watering canteen. The big difference being here is that it's made out of plastic. And that is not a big deal for us. I actually quite like that. It's gonna hold up a little better than just metal. It doesn't dent, it's a lot thicker. It actually does really well in the high heat as well. And frankly, it's easier to remove out of this pouch as well, which I really like and appreciate. But we will also modernize this system as well. You see, I like to use these roughly more as a backup system. What I generally carry with me is a water hydration Camelback. This one here is military issue and roughly 2 liters. So this we'll be throwing in our bag when we take it with us. These are fantastic because you have a straw on hand. It keeps your hands open and free, especially when they come in these thicker, more military issue materials. They hold up a lot better. That being said, it's always good to take a spare canteen, just in case you have a rupture or some catastrophic issue and this fails. You can drink from the Camelback, and once that water's out, you can back it up with the canteen. So really, Indy's been very good to us in that regard. We're just gonna modernize it and add 2 systems into 1 larger system. I think that's a win. Now, we know many of you are probably big fans of the Indiana Jones satchel, and the Mark 7 gas mask bag is certainly cool to have in a collector's set. It is actually very useful as a makeshift bag, but it really restricts you in how much you can carry, and frankly, this thing sways all the time and will hit you as you carry it. The pockets aren't very large, it doesn't have a great weight capacity, so I've never been very pleased with these. We have a solution to replace this. Further, we have one that doesn't require a Sherpa to come along with you. We have a real classic with us now, boys and girls. This monstrosity of a system is the Alice Pack. These used to be quite cheap and affordable. Unfortunately, the world of collectors has driven up the price considerably, but frankly, in a good market, you can get the bag alone for about $50. And even the world of reproductions are fine. This is an original with the nylon build, but still, fantastic, fantastic, because look at these straps here. You can put in so much stuff. Further, you have bags upon bags, so many bags. And best of all, the main compartment is absolutely massive. This is the bag that we're going to be picking to take with us because it is an absolute beast. You don't need other people to carry your stuff when you have a system like this, so easily accessible to the general public, relatively affordable. After all, a full system is about $120 used, brand new. That really is going to depend on who you go with, but really, I couldn't be happier with these systems. And they really transformed the world of backpacking from Vietnam and onward. So, this is going to be our system, because it gets rid of the Sherpa, gets rid of the need of that side bag. It's still a classic, and at the same time, with this added frame, you have so much support and breathability. Fantastic system. We're going to take this one out in the field. Now, last time, we talked about the joy of field medicine, which is also called alcohol. Is alcohol appropriate to take out on the field? Well, probably not, especially when it comes to the world of medicine. And frankly, I have something far more useful and life-saving here that we can use to replace liquor. This here, in the Molly bag, is an IFAK, which stands for Individual First Aid Kit. I believe you should have one of these on you, whether you're going to hike a mile or you're going to be out there for several days. It makes no difference. You should have a first aid kit just like this on you. And these are packed full of all kinds of wonderfully useful items. Forgive me now, I myself am an overpacker. So, I'm not just packing for me, I'm packing for the other guy too. Bit of a shame, I know. But here's an example of the items that we have. We have a tourniquet here to stop bleeding, and frankly, if you can afford it, you should have more than one of these because people tend to bleed a lot. We also have gauze, hemostatic blood clotting agent. We've got tweezers. We've also got Israeli bandages, and we have medical scissors right here. We could open this up and go do a full deep dive. That's not what this video is about, however. This right here is what you want for your individual person, and if you're like me, for other people too. So, we can throw the bottle away, it's bad for you anyway as a habit, and carry this on your person instead. This is important, and we'll be using it as our field medicine replacement. Alright, so now, let's sit down and talk about Dr. Jones's khakis. We wore them in the field. They're a solid pick. They still hold up now, in my opinion. However, there's better equipment. And further, there's more useful equipment. For you now, for starters, let's talk about the shirt. If you want to replace the shirt in the field, here's a nice, cheap, affordable, reliable option. It's a Magellan. This is a fish gear shirt. Some of you might think that sounds sacrilegious because it doesn't have the epaulets. But frankly, the world of synthetics has come an incredibly long way. And this is a highly adaptable shirt. Again, when you're in a hot environment, these breathe so nicely, it dries out fairly quickly, and it's comfortable. Further, it has long sleeves, but it can be rolled up very quickly and just tied to this knot here, so it can go short in a minute. It also wicks the sweat off your body. It also comes with a nice variety of different bags on it as well, different pockets. Very useful. And it's a lot of Velcro. Some of you might not be a big fan of Magellan, but that's okay. You can also find very, very similar shirts. But the reason I call this one is because it's cheap, it's affordable, it dries very quickly. It's something that you're going to get access to fairly easily. And if you're like me, you shred your shirts. So getting a new one fairly quickly is a good pick. This is what we'll be wearing on ourselves tomorrow, and I'll show you how well it works in the field, and we'll talk on that. Now, let's graduate to pants. In the world of pants, we know Dr. Jones was a big fan of khaki, and I'm the same way. However, let's modernize it here with a pair of Cools. Specifically before you here is the Cool Freerider. If you're like me, you generally enjoy a thicker pair of pants and you want something that really holds up. I abuse my legs, I don't lie about it for a second. So I like a good thick material, but I also want something that breathes relatively well and has pocket room. This is a perfect pick. It has nice large pockets, which are also made out of a fairly stretchy material, so you can pack them pretty deep. It's gonna have spare side pockets as well for things like knives, compasses. You can even carry a spare magazine if you need it in that pocket. Rear pockets as well. These hold up wonderfully. You can see some of the rips and tears. I've had this one for a full year now, but it's been strong and it's been holding up for us. I really suggest these pants. They're an excellent addition to your collection and for your own use out in the field, especially if you want something that's Indiana Jones-esque. It's a really solid pick. Let's pick on now the most important part of Indiana Jones' outfit, aside from his fedora. It's his leather jacket. It is iconic. What Wested Leather uses and what we put out are beautiful, high-quality jackets. Never doubt that for a second. However, in a heated jungle environment, in any warm environment, these will make you sweat very quickly, and they're not particularly breathable. They're tough, they're reliable, they're strong, but you are gonna sweat very quickly. So regrettably, I'm gonna throw this aside. I'm gonna give you my #1 pick for what I think is a modern Indiana Jones style of jacket. Right here. This huge bundle that looks like a ridiculous winter overcoat is the M65 field jacket. Now, you're probably saying, why are you picking a winter coat? Well, that's the thing. It's actually not a winter coat. It's an all-4-season coat. It's just so perfectly designed. This hood right here can be fully unbuttoned and removed. Further, this quilted liner can also be fully unbuttoned and removed. And what you're left with is going to just be the shell of a jacket. This jacket, in turn, has a zipper in the back here of the neck, which can be opened up, and it's going to be a rain cape. Wonderfully useful. Further, it's got wonderful openings here to keep it loose and comfortable. It has epaulets, which is the classic style so many adventurers love. And the pockets on this are fantastic. Deep, strong pockets that are easily accessible. I really could not speak more highly of this jacket. And if you ever want to waterproof it, get something like Otter Wax and then strategically place it on spots that you know are going to get wet and just keep the spots that you want to breathe more open. I love it though because you can use it for every season, and I have, and it works in near every environment. Although this comes off as very bulky, keep in mind, I have the full winter layer in it now. And the summer layer, they even used these jackets during the Vietnam War just for the rain season, or for when they thought it was getting a little nippy, which was rare. So, this is the pick that we have for Indiana Jones all season round. And it's something that's wonderfully easily accessible and affordable to most people. Now, here's our grand finale for the day. What would we use to replace Indiana Jones's whip? Oh my God, we wouldn't replace it. That's the thing. He's such an iconic character. We have to give the man something. And in the modern day and age, you know he would still be rocking this if he could. These are just so iconic, so much fun, and it absolutely brings out a childlike joy within me. We could never make the man replace it. That being said, if you don't want to buy a whip like this, that's okay. You can also consider buying something like paracord or just rope to smack people with and or climb with. Perfectly usable. And if you have something that you believe makes you an iconic fighter, by all means carry it with you. But again, the bullwhip, we just can't replace it, guys. We love the man too much. Here we are now with absolutely everything we'll be taking into the field. Quite a lot when you really think about it, and yet at the same time, once you're out there, it's also very little. So, give me a second. I'll change out into this kit so you can see what it looks like, and then from there, let's not dilly-dally, let's make our way out into the field and get to the testing, the really fun part after all. And here it is, boys and girls, our modern take on an Indiana Jones. It's a touch lackluster, but to be fair, the moment you get the bullwhip, I think it all starts to work out. So, we'll take this kit out there into the wilderness and we're going to get it tested fully and properly. We're going to be extremely honest with you for how we feel that it holds up. We're not going to stray away from any kind of dirt, and we're really going to go out there and hit it. So, I'm not going to continue yakking about playing dress up anymore. Let's get out there and see if our interpretation of Indy in the modern day is something that works and can last. See you there. And now we are here, ladies and gentlemen, at Hidden Falls Trail. We're in the upcountry of South Carolina in beautiful Appalachia, where we're going to test out our modernized kit for Indiana Jones. This should be a nice 5-miler, roughly. It's going to have a lot of undulating hills, but relatively solid terrain throughout. And we really feel that this should give this equipment a fair test. So I'm going to stop running my mouth, and we're just going to get hiking, and we'll see what we find along the way. Come along now. So our first #1 objective of the day is to link up with the other half of our party. Tauntaun is currently with me. Edom and Blake are down this trail here. So we're going to link up with them, and then we'll make our way to some of the bigger attractions of the day. Come along now. With that point cleared up, me and Tauntaun make our way now down the trail in order to link up with Edom and Tauntaun, and hopefully we'll actually find them. This particular section of the trailhead only had us about 1 mile separated from Edom and Blake. But that being said, it's actually far less traveled than you might think, and the foliage here, especially by summertime, can get fairly thick. Although at the time of this filming it was still winter time, I can tell you now that the moment the sun came out, everything in here got fairly hot fairly quick. As funny as it might sound, it's actually warm enough out here right now, especially in all of this foliage, to drop a layer. So the M65 is coming off for the time being, but hey, you know what? We start off a little cooler, warm up fairly quickly, and then we kind of get lost out here. We'll keep you updated as we keep moving along. Be fun. Here's another highlight I'd like to bring up, which is how much more comfortable these Solomon shoes were than the Alden boots that we wore in the previous film shoot. Really, modernizing has its advantages. So it's already a noticeable improvement. One, just having better shoes, in this case the Solomon boot here, it's just got a fantastic grip, it's got great arch support, and I'm not slipping all over. Aren't you happy, Tauntaun, I didn't shoot my heel back at you today?
Yeah, it's nice.
Further, I'm actually carrying my own load. It's very comfortable to have this external frame with the Alice pack. Tauntaun is probably also very glad he's not working as a Sherpa. Am I right?
Yeah, my neck feels a lot better this time around.
Yeah, so I will never be having him carry my stuff again, I suppose. With those improvements noted, let's go and take a look at something interesting that we spotted on the trail now, just right up ahead. Now, we didn't get the fella on camera there, but I do believe this is actually a home for rabbits. If you look far enough in, you'll actually be able to spot the rabbit hole, but that being said, me being here has scared them away, but these 2 fallen trees have made a little protective grotto. Again, very difficult to see, but they're in there, so that's pretty cool. our good friend and fellow teammate Edom had recently made a statement about using a tree base, this root ball, as an emergency shelter. And he did get a little bit of flack for that, and I wanted to clarify some of what he was saying. Further, I did want to say that, in my opinion, what he overall said was actually very much correct. As an emergency shelter, a root ball can be really wonderful to stay within. When you get within these, it can provide you a bit of shelter here from severe wind. It's going to give you a bit of a reflective zone as well for if you make a fire and you want some heat. It can also retain your body heat. But that being said, when you're here, you really do need to be careful. Keep in mind when we say this, it's because it is an emergency shelter when you need it. There's a couple things you need to look for when you make this shelter. One, you need to feel around the ground here where it actually is, where it's been pulled out, because that ground can be very soft. Further, it can lead to something like a sinkhole or just an area that you can fall in, because that dirt will have been churned up not only by the pull, but by the amount of roots in the area pulling out nutrition. There's going to be a lot of air now and pockets formed, so be careful where you put your feet. Check it before you go there. Further, if you're going to be staying by a tree like this, you need to make sure you're staying by a tree that cannot prop up. Plenty of these trees, especially at an angle, have the opportunity to come flying back up. I'll give you a few examples of why this one is a better selection than another bad tree that we found, which would be a poor selection. You see right there, although this is a softer bit of ground, it's still stable enough to keep you protected. Further, it doesn't look like this is going to be coming down on us. I'll show you up ahead exactly what I'm talking about. When you look at this tree, you need to judge the angle and the weight that's keeping it down, because a tree at a bad angle or without any kind of a weight holding it down can flip back up and it will crush you, and you don't want to be buried alive under a tree. However, as we inspect this tree here, it's at an angle where it's highly unlikely to come up. Further, when we look at this here, we can see that it's been covered up a significant amount by other trees and foliage here, so there's some weight holding it down. That being said, again, don't use this as a primary shelter or even a secondary shelter. But if you're really up the creek and you need a basic survival shelter to get behind, something like this is pretty good. Now, let me show you an example of a tree you wouldn't want to get behind no matter how desperate you are. This is a perfect example of a root ball that you wouldn't want to use as a shelter. Some of you might like the idea that we have these roots still in the ground that are anchoring it in place and making a wall, but that's actually terrible because it's still anchoring this in place, which means it can be pulled back into the earth if it wanted to. Further, when you look at that red clay down in there and that earth, it's very, very soft. You don't know if there's a pocket under there. You don't know if you could get stuck in it. So it's really not advisable. And third, this tree is at a much more severe angle. If you were in a windstorm or heavy rain, there's a possibility that this could come back up on you, or even worse, slide down on the hill and crush you between this path here and the overall tree and earth there. Very dangerous situations to be in. So, again, final emphasis, when it comes to these structures for protection, if you really need one for an emergency, look around, you might find one that's suitable. But this one here is a perfect example of what you wouldn't want to use as a shelter out in the woods. Now, let's continue on.
From that point, it didn't take Tauntaun and I long to run into Edom and Blake. And as we saw them coming down the trail, I have to admit that I've never seen them so prepared for a bear attack in my life. But hey, at least they're out there keeping us safe. Easily said here, the fact that the entire four-man team was now back together certainly made me feel safer. Adding to this is the fact that our Indiana Jones outfit was actually working out very well, with its weight distribution, comfortable shoes, larger hat, and breathable clothing. So, no complaints there. Having doubled back and now at the starting point for Tauntaun and I, that made our total round trip roughly 1.5 miles. And we could finally make our way down to Hidden Falls Trail in proper, going of course to the Hidden Fall. That said, here's a friendly note. Ever since the terrible Hurricane Helen, pretty much all of the main walkways have been blocked off, so if you want to get down to the waterfall, you're gonna have to be creative, and that is a perfect test for our gear.
Well, the storm has ruined a little bit of our hiking, but we have creative solutions to get around it.
Now, you might think that all of this overgrown foliage and fallen trees would be a real deterrent for hiking out here. However, because of this, it leads to some really fun exploration, which fits the Indiana Jones theme perfectly.
Now, we went off trail quite a bit with Indy's gear, so it's only fair to come out here in our newer Indiana-style gear and take it off trail for a minute. There's just a small river waterfall that we're gonna go and explore here for a second, but it's good enough just to show you how well this holds up off trail. Come on.
Getting into this particular position can be a bit difficult as there are no proper trails leading to this waterfall, largely due to the fact that they were destroyed in the hurricane. But if you can make it through, the final view in and of itself is actually incredibly rewarding, especially after rain.
There we go.
Before you here is Disappearing Falls. And it's not called that just because the entirety of the trailhead is washed away and no one can visit now, but because if there's not enough waterfall in the area, then the fall disappears. Fun fact in that regard, and beautiful.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, right here is Disappearing Falls, which you have to get off trail in order to discover. Now, there used to be a trail, but because of all the storm damage, you rather have to go off trail and circumnavigate the trail somewhat to get here. It is beautiful to see. However, this is putting us roughly 0.5 miles away from Hidden Falls, which surprisingly is less hidden than Disappearing Falls. Still, we give our trail guide Edom full credit for helping us find this one today. Thank you, Edom.
Now, let's make a quick transition to an educational segment. Fun facts with Edom.
Now, something I wanted to point out that's actually, well, I think it's pretty cool, but this little crack in the rock here that cameraman just pointed to is actually the result of hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of years of erosion from this water cutting through the rock. And it's actually the same way that the Colorado River formed the Grand Canyon. So who knows, maybe if we come back in, I don't know, a couple 100 million years, maybe this will be a thriving valley in the mountaintops here. I think it's pretty cool.
Indeed, it is pretty cool. Now, let's continue our hike. Hopefully you remember how you got to Disappearing Falls, because leaving will be just as arduous, but now in reverse. It's not an accessible location, but it is a really cool one to explore.
So far, so good. We're reporting in here at roughly the 3-mile section for us. And this equipment so far has been doing great. It really does help to have equipment that lets you sweat and then perspire and then wick it out of the system. Really fantastic. Something I just like to say that I really enjoy about the kit right now is the fact that I can change layers so quickly and stay relatively comfortable throughout. Further, it's not nearly as delicate as the Indiana Jones kit was. My pants have been tough and hardy. I've been able to get over most obstacles. Shoes have an excellent grip. They've stayed watertight. And the hat, I just like it, and it's tough as hell. So, continuing on the trail now.
At this particular location, we have made our way to the very crest of the mountain and will slowly make our descent to go and actually see Hidden Falls Waterfall. The path leading to the waterfall narrows fairly quickly, and this is where it may get difficult for some people. Further, the growth on both sides will only grow thicker. But if there is a bonus here, the fact of the matter is that it is all downhill from here. Another nice point is the fact that still these Solomon boots absolutely hold up in this environment, which is quite useful to me and my feet.
Right here's a prime example of a tree that you wouldn't want to be stuck under. Also, means our footpath out here is getting a lot smaller as we go down. We're absolutely surrounded by foliage and you can feel it heating up. Even as we get closer to the water, the moisture has been picking up significantly. Let's see how close we are now.
From that point, it really didn't take our team much time at all to find Hidden Falls, which is here before you now.
before you here, ladies and gentlemen, is the absolute beauty that we call Hidden Falls. And it really is nestled away. It is not the most accessible to people. But that being said, making the hike down here is absolutely worth it. I'm very happy that my gear was able to hold up and get me to this point, and we'll explore this mountainside just a little bit more in a second. But for right now, just take a look at how awe-inspiring this is.
Hidden Falls itself is an over 50-foot drop. Further, it is entirely surrounded and flowing down a granite surface. The water source actually is just an unnamed tributary, so if you want to come out here and see it at its best, I really suggest you come out after a heavy rainfall. That 50-foot climb on either side can be fairly rough and dangerous. Even in a drier climate like today, it is fairly steep and rough, but you also get some incredibly rewarding views if you can make it up to the top and really see this waterfall in totality. Just play it safe and you get a beautiful view like this. With a view like this, it's hard not to take advantage of it. And in this case, myself and the team decided it was best to sit down and have our lunch break in the most scenic areas possible. With a meal like this, furthered by a view like this is essentially paradise on Earth. Beautiful, isn't it? And here's a secret advantage of carrying an Alice pack. It's the fact that the kidney belt makes for the optimal headrest position - pillow. Very luxurious in nature. If you were to ask me, I would say that this just might be the perfect setup to live in and enjoy nature. Blake decided to take the rightmost flank over here by the waterfall in order to enjoy his lunch with a sense of solitude. Edom in turn took the opposite embankment and got cozy on a rock. And I have to admit, he has a spectacular view from there. And capping off our team, Tauntaun decided to take the comfort of a log and sit here by the water basin just below the waterfall. Nice choice.
Last time when we discussed what someone like an Indiana Jones or the explorers of the 1930s would have been eating, they would have been canned goods, but there's two problems. One, they can be very heavy, and two, they are somewhat nutritionally devoid. Another issue with being nutritionally devoid is going to be getting items like fruits and vegetables in, fresh, that you can digest. Well, in the modern day and age, we have a very good and tasty solution to that. Children's food. Seems kind of silly, but these mashed foods that are vegetables and fruits, sometimes mixed or separated, are actually excellent to take into the field. Plenty of these don't really need many preservatives at all. They don't need a refrigeration system, and they're light and easy to carry. Further, when you crack it open here, you just throw it away when you're done. You can police your trash very easily. Here, I'll show you that this is edible. It's just applesauce in a bag, but it's good to take in the field. I give it a 5 out of 10, and then when I get hungry, I give it a 10 out of 10.
All that tranquility, of course, could not be maintained because we brought the Indiana Jones whip with us out into the woods, and we had to give it just one more crack. Here Tauntaun goes, giving it his best effort, but mostly ends up just trimming the tree by accident. And it was almost nearly quite possible to finally live my lifehood dream of being cool. However, I messed up the whip bit here, but, you know, I get to make a cool escape.
So, you see the news recently? No. There's like an asteroid or something that's supposed to, it's got like a 3% chance of hitting Earth. Really? Yeah, it used to be 1.9, but what is that? Oh my god, this guy. Dude, I swear, we can't take this guy anywhere, though. He takes that whip everywhere with him now. Every hike. Ever since he made the Indiana Jones video. He thinks he's in Indiana Jones. He's just been obsessed, I swear. Alright, well, let's go get him. Yeah, let's go. Alright.
Boys and girls, we're going to try it one more time just to see if we were right that this is a very useful tool in the real world. Indy's going to help pull Tauntaun back up the hill. Let's go for it. Ready, bud?
Grab the handle. Yep. Oh, it's soaking wet. Yeah, but you're getting up. There you go. There you go. There you go. Cross it. There you go. He made it up the mud and rock. This is a nasty climb without any assistance, honestly. Trust me. Good job.
With all of that hooligan nature completed and the fun of rest and relaxation finally over, it was time to leave the waterfall and make the hike back up the mountain. Our hike was essentially over for the day. Now, let's get back to base camp and discuss exactly what our thoughts are on this modernized Indiana Jones outfit.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we have just finished up our hike. And I have to say, that was a great deal of fun for us. It's certainly a lot more trying uphill than it is downhill. But we've done our very best to make sure that we can thoroughly use this equipment within roughly a 5-mile range. Now, I'll quit with the introduction and let's get right into talking about all of our replacement Indiana Jones modernization kit here. Let's start off with the hat. I love an Akubra. Everyone knows that. It's such a classic hat, and unlike Indiana Jones's Fedora, it is made more for the outdoors, here with the venting holes, and frankly, a just tougher, more ready material. It still does a great job. That being said, it is an over 100-year-old design for a hat. The material is still going to be heavier. It does tend to hold in water. It can repel it when it's dry, but once it's wet, it stays wet for a while. That being said, it is a classic. I score this one a 6 out of 10, and that's because I have a lot of nostalgia for it and a lot of love for it, but it is a classic design when it comes to the world of outdoor hats. It's a great keeper. When it comes to replacing Indiana Jones's Sherpa and Satchel bag, we came out here with the Alice. You can absolutely load these up. Further, they have some classic appeal from the 1960s in military use, very similar to Indiana Jones's Satchel. You can absolutely abuse these and use these, and they hold up. Further, the backpacking here and the external frame is phenomenal. It was really ahead of its time, if you ask me, and it really helps you breathe, stay cool, and give you proper support, especially in that lower lumbar region. And finally, the kidney belt here just makes a wonderful field pillow. Can't lie, I think it's fantastic. When it comes to the final score on this, I say 7 out of 10. That's just because I love these systems. They're a classic, they're highly usable, but at the same time, you can get better ones. There are nicer systems nowadays, but they are more expensive. So I wanted to give you guys a classic that's a little more affordable. When we talked about ye olden day explorers in the 1930s, alcohol was their medicine, but that's not inherently the best for you to use. Modern day and age here, we have the IFAK, or the individual first aid kit. Being out here, we really didn't have to use it, but in this little hip pocket, you can carry so much useful equipment to get you through it out there, and it's wonderfully packed down and it's easily transportable, and frankly it's fairly intuitive to use. For a field use out here, even though we didn't use it and we're thankful for that, I scored an 8 out of 10. Really great to have. Shoes, or in this case here, it's the Solomon Jungle Boot. A fantastic, fantastic boot. As you can tell by the dirt on these, we absolutely used them and abused them for a 5-mile stretch. We took them on trail, off trail, soft terrain, hard terrain, rocky terrain, uphill, downhill. We've even rolled them on a few rocks just for the sake of it. You also saw us using them when we were at the Falls Decline. Fantastic shoe, fantastic fit. For this one here that I let really get wet and actually flood the boot, I can tell you now that yes, you'd have to open this up to let it fully dry out at night, but it really does a wonderful job at dissipating a lot of the water and moisture within. And further, it still holds up, keeps its grip, and keeps its knots while wet. And as a second, this boot stayed dry the whole time. Really, really a fantastic boot. I couldn't speak more highly of these. I give it an 8 out of 10 just because there are more expensive, even nicer boots out there, but frankly, $1,000 boots are just a little out of our price range, and I think this is a great one for the modern day explorer. All right, let's talk about field pants. In this case, we have the Cools. These are the rider pants. I really love these pants. I've had these for over probably 6 seasons now in full and total use. I have beat these and abused these. I've taken down them for several mud and rock slides. I've had them in every weather, and I really, really love and like these. They have a great deal of pockets, and I'm not really gonna go and waffle on a great deal about this here. Frankly, I scored it a 7 out of 10. I think it's a fantastic pant. That being said, they do make pants that breathe a little better, cost a little more, have some more pockets available to them. But frankly, I think here the cool riders fit the Indiana Jones build perfectly. Very pleased. I myself am very pleased here with the Magellan fishing shirt. It is sweat wicking, you can breathe real easily. I like it in the summertime and the winter. Right now we're kind of in a strange cross season. Earlier in the day it felt like 70 degrees in the humidity, and then later in the shade it goes down to 50. When you're sweating profusely like we are and you have a heavy pack on, it feels miserable to take a bag off and have all that hot sweat all of a sudden cool off in the shade. I never have that issue with a shirt like this because it easily wicks that sweat off the body and starts to breathe. We were really pushing it hard uphill the last 2.5 miles. We're at a very solid pace. The whole time I felt very comfortable, thanks in part to this shirt just pulling the sweat off. Now these are cheaper, but at the same time, because they're cheaper, the more ubiquitous. I give this one a solid 7 out of 10. There are nicer, more expensive shirts, but for something that fits the Indiana Jones Explorer category, and at the same time is something you can use every day, I think it's a perfect fit. All right, real quick, let's talk on nutrition here for the modern day explorer. In my bag of magical tricks, here it is. Apple juice in a bag. It's actually really useful. There's a whole variety of these. Again, you don't have to refrigerate these. They come with all kinds of beautiful modern day nutrients for your fruits and your vegetables. I'll give this one just a solid 6 out of 10. It's nothing amazing, but it's useful. And frankly, it's a little more diverse than just canned hot dogs. It is very hard to beat the modern Camelback. This one here is a 2-liter carrier, but when it comes to our more serious work, I'll carry up to 4. It does add some considerable weight to your bag, and you'll need a larger bag because of it. But you can take these almost anywhere. It's fairly easy to carry. You can clean them out. You can refill them, again, with great ease. And the fact that you don't have to reach down to a belt and grab a canteen is just an absolute lifesaver. I do say that it would be wise to carry a canteen on you, which we always do, and we have this here. For the modern day explorer, however, I think this combo system is a solid 8 out of 10. There might be something even better, but I have yet to really experience it outside of the very expensive world. These are fantastic for going in the field. You really should be carrying these. Now let's talk about the modern day adventurer jacket. I personally feel that the M65 field jacket is an absolute perfect pick. If you want something with classic style, fits that kind of adventure motif, but at the same time can actually be used in the field. This is an original surplus jacket from '66, which saw use in the Navy here. But again, these are hard to beat. They are thicker, but they are semi-water repellent. Further, you can add otter wax onto it to make it far more repellent. It also comes with this weather hood there in the back collar, and you can fully winterize it and keep it ready for summer. These things saw use all the way into the Arctic to Vietnam back in their heyday. So I really, really say it's a fantastic jacket. For today's hike, however, give it a 6 out of 10. There are better, more modern setups, and you can pack a little more appropriately for what you need. But again, real staple, real classic, and frankly, something that you can get old-fashioned and through the retro market. It's not even a question. The whip is a 10 out of 10. Not because it probably is useful, but because it's so damn cool and so much fun. I mean, just watch this. You just can't top Dr. Jones. That is too much fun. Anyhow, enough of that. Just know that we love it, and it's going to keep coming with us, because why not? 10 out of 10. Great product.
Here's our final scoring of everything we took out into the field, and I have to say that nothing here failed us in any way. That being said, the lower scores were for the Akubra and the M65 jacket, and the highest score, of course, being for the whip, but all of these are solid picks for the field.
Although we've come out here saying that this could be a modern-day Indiana Jones get-up, and it does serve as a blueprint to help all of those out there find items that they might like, I have to be frank, replacing Indiana Jones is never going to be on the table. That there is an absolute impossibility. He has become a cultural icon and represents something far beyond just adventure. He's a cultural zeitgeist, if you would, a defining model of the 1980s and onward, and something that throws us back to a day and age that none of us can really say that we lived. That being said, it's so incredible. Now, this outfit here, again, is just full of suggestions for you to use. And we do believe a modern Indiana Jones explorer type could certainly use these and benefit from them. But don't take it all for granted, nor do you have to feel like this is law. You can go out and choose any piece that you like. We've tried our very best to give you as many options as there are. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now concluded with our discussion today of modernizing the Indiana Jones outfit. If you have enjoyed what we've been talking about today and showing off, please like and subscribe below, and subscribe to the notifications. Further, please stay in touch with us on our Instagram. We're very happy to communicate with you in and outside of YouTube. Again, we've had so much fun with you today. Thank you for your time, and until next time, this is the Eager Beaver, signing off.